Welcome to Martini Time. Hope you're having a nice Saturday. It's a beautiful day here in Blackstone, the center of the universe. Of course, everyone is the center of the universe, so don't feel offended. So, last night we have Friday night movies, friends over. Perhaps we used to have dinners, but now we just have dessert and a movie. And last night we watched The Shack, which is I guess it's just out. It was on. It's out. I guess it's just out. It seems to be recent, and I found it very interesting. I wanted to talk about that. It's. I'm sure a lot of people can find something to be offended. We live in the age of offense. If you notice, nothing gets attention and nothing gets media patancha. Last night we talked about patancha, which is the proliferation of thinking and comments. And so outrage is every day we love in our collective consciousness now to have a rock of outrage thrown into the lake of the media, and it just ripples out with outrage. So I'm sure this movie created some outrage, but I enjoyed it. It was basically reminded me of the life of Pi. Now, if you recall the life of Pi, I hope you all saw that. It was about a boy on an adventure. A ship sank with a bunch of animals on it, and he ended up in a lifeboat with a tiger. And he told the story to a reporter, and it was a wondrous story of his adventure with this, how to survive in a lifeboat with a Bengal tiger. And he eventually reached the other shore, and then a reporter got the story from him. And then he also said, well, there was another story that was in the newspaper, and that was where the boy, there was no tiger, it was the ship's cook. And so the factual story was about the boy and the cook and these other people on in the lifeboat, and how they killed each other and ate each other, and it was a very disgusting outcome. Not heroic at all. But the story of the whole movie was the boy with the tiger. And so this movie, The Shack, it reminded me suddenly of that, because you have this story, everyday story of a happy family, and they got a little girl named Missy, and she gets abducted and killed, and the family falls apart, and he can't recover from this trauma. It's post-traumatic syndrome, and he gets a note in the mailbox saying, Papa wants to see you in the shack, or something like that. I forgot what the note was. But anyway, he goes on this adventure. He goes up there, and he enters into another world. It's like Narnia. It's like going through the wardrobe. He goes through a veil, a waterfall, and he goes into another world. And there's God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit in human form. And God is the black lady who was in Help, that made the shit pie. She was very good. And Jesus was Middle Eastern, and the Holy Spirit was Asian. And so they proceeded to instruct our adventurer on the wisdom of letting go, basically. And so then he sees the light, he lets go, and he comes back through into the everyday world, and gets hit by a truck and wakes up. And the factual report of it, he never went there. He went there, got hit by a truck, was in the hospital, and woke up. So this space opens up, you see, in the movie. where there is a wondrous adventure, an interior adventure. He goes on he goes through a hole. He falls into a rabbit hole. He goes. This is the way the adventure always works. It's you stumble into it. You go through some portal, some wardrobe, some hole in the rock or something, a mirror, and you go into an interior world that is exterior, and you have an adventure, and you heal the forces of the psyche. You meet the demons. You heal and let go, and then you return to the world, and it didn't even exist. The hero knows this exists, and the movie says, did it exist or not? You see. So the question remains, did it really happen, or was it just a dream? Was it just fantasy? And this really points to the problem of our modern secular, empirical, materialistic world in which only things, only stuff, only matter exists. And the interior world, the subjective world, is just fantasy. It doesn't really, it's not real, you see. And so how do you, through art, you see, how do you describe the subjective interior world in a materialistic culture that only believes facts are real? Measurable facts that other people can see and affirm that those facts are real. You see, if no one else can see a fact and you only see it, it's not real. I mean, if you see a unicorn and no one else can see it, it's not real. But if you can get a bunch of other people to verify it, maybe take pictures of it, you got Bigfoot, right? So, in other words, reality needs a collective assumption that reality is real. So anyway, I hope I don't digress here, but the point is that the movie as art is trying to describe a subjective adventure in an objective way. And that always gets into problems, because anytime you put the subjective, which is, you could say, the transcendental, the subjective or interior world, into objective story, it's not real. I mean, it loses its truth, because there are two dimensions here. And you're taking it from one dimension and putting it into a material dimension, and no one else will agree upon it, because it's not their adventure. It's not their truth. So I studied philosophy back in college, and I remember reading Soren Kierkegaard. That was one of the philosophers you studied. And only one thing, I don't remember one thing he said. He said, truth is subjectivity. Truth is subjectivity. And that still reverberates in me. What does that mean? Because we believe truth is objectivity. And in order for truth to be objective truth, you have to get enough people to agree that truth is factually true. And the more people you can get to agree on the assumptions of that objective truth, you see, affirms its truth. So it's always a war between trying to shore up your truth and having it attacked by others who see something else that was not mentioned. So this movie can fall into that trap. It can fall into the fact, well, I don't think God is black, or I don't think the Holy Spirit would do that, you see, or all this. So this personification of the Trinity can really get into problems with people who have different ideas of what the Trinity and God is, you see. So but that's not the point of the movie. The movie as art is that the movie as art is metaphor. Metaphor. Now, what is a metaphor? People don't understand what a metaphor, and I barely do. Joseph Campbell spent his whole life trying to explain metaphor when he said myth and religion is myth and myth is metaphor. You see, because we live in a factual, objective world. Truth is objective in the material world. And metaphor is not logical. Truth has to be logical. Truth has to be objective, logical, rational, and communicated in clear and distinct ideas. It can't be ambiguous. It can't be symbolic or analogous or metaphorical, you see, or illogical. So, a movie is metaphor. So this movie is metaphor then. As metaphor, it's not really subject to analysis. You can't analyze a painting and understand a painting through logical analysis. A painting is a metaphor. And now let's get back to what metaphor means. So that metaphor means it's two fingers. A metaphor has two fingers. One finger points to facts. So the fact finger of the movie points to the facts of the forms, facts and forms, let's put it that way. Finger points to form. So the form finger of the metaphor, the movie, points to the forms of the characters in the story. So God is a black woman and the black woman says this and all that. So that's the form. The movie has form, a plot. You can see it. You can talk about it. You can all agree that you're watching the same movie. So it has one form. That 5 people watching a movie don't see 5 different movies. One's watching Casablanca and the other one's watching John Wayne. You see, it's one movie. So it points to one form. So there's an agreement there on all the people watching a movie that particular woman is a particular character, and you can Google it up, you see, and find out who she is, and you can find out all about the form, and you can write down the plot, you see, the plot has this and that actually happened, you see, you can point to that. Everybody can agree that just happened, you see. So that's all agreeable reality. That's the objective form, you see. But then the metaphor, the subjective thing. So this is the objective finger of the metaphor. But then you have this finger. Now this finger in the metaphor points not to any form at all. It points to you. You see? So who are you? So now the finger points to your subjective life. And so the movie is giving a message of an experience, a subjective experience of release from anger and trauma. So you get what I'm saying here is that the movie is, while it has an objective truth that everyone can agree on and not agree on, not the objective truth of the form. You can all agree that this particular actress was such and such a person. But the meaning of it, you see, the meaning now is going to be subjective to your view. So you could say I don't agree with the meaning of it. But I agree that it has a particular form. So that the form part is pretty firm. So it's the meaning that is ambiguous. The metaphorical finger that points to the subjective is going to be ambiguous in that everybody will have a different subjective meaning or reception of the movie. But then that is not the metaphor either. The metaphor, the subjective, truth is subjectivity, does not mean your subjective opinion. It does not mean your subjective perspective or your subjective view on life. and your religion and all the meaning and all of the conditioning and all that you believe in and your faith and all that, you see, that would be called your subjective view. Well, the metaphor of art that's not the metaphorical finger. You get these fingers, you see. You got the finger pointing to form that everyone can agree on. The other finger points to the subjective with a little s, and that's where the disagreement comes in. So that's not the metaphor we're talking about. See, we're not talking about, but that's the way we think it's going. Everybody has a subjective opinion about what it means. Now you got the fight going. Now you got the religious war, you see, or the opinion war. But that's not the art. The art metaphor, you see, the subjectivity that is truth is with a capital S. So the capital S, subjectivity, is you as the knower, you as the center of the world. Remember, I opened this talk with Blackstone is the center of the world, and everyone is the center of the world. The subjectivity, the subject, I as the knower, is the center of the world as you. The center of you is I. You know. You know. And then you know stuff. You know, for instance, I talked about this morning. So it's, I'm in the foyer. All right, well, you can see the foyer, here, over here. You're like this, I'm in a foyer. All right, so that's a fact. What I don't say is that I know I'm in the foyer. We just assume I know. That's the ghost. That's the subjective with a capital S, the hidden knower. So the movie as art, when it becomes art, when it activates this metaphor at its true form or sense, is that the metaphorical finger points to the facts. I'm in the foyer. The movie has characters. And the other finger points to you as the knower. Not what you know, but knower. And when that is activated by a movie, and some movies do, most movies don't, but once in a while we come into a movie that activates the knower, my truth, my I, it activates the I, and the movie changes me. The movie transforms me. The movie becomes a guru. The movie becomes my wisdom. I'm different after watching that movie. And sometimes with these movies, we watch it over and over again. In the same way that we will read a spiritual teaching over and over again. People read the Bible over and over again. Or I read Eckhart Tolle, or Albert Lowe, or other teachers, Krishnamurti. You read it over and over again. Because there is a metaphorical reference to you as the knower, the subject, I. And the I of the artist is the same knower. So when the I, the knower, the I of the artist who creates the art, or the talk, or the book, and your I resonate, you become one knower. And that's the truth, is subjectivity. Truth is, truth has no second. Truth is not divisible. But objective world is divisible. You can break it up you take a loaf of bread, break it up into fragments. So the objective world that we believe is the only world is a fragmented world. It's a broken world of facts. And everybody has a subjective opinion about what the meaning of the facts is. And so we end up in a conflicted world of opinion wars or religious wars. So all wars are religious in that sense, you see. So that truth is subjectivity means that the truth of the I, the knower, when it connects with the I of another human being, there is only one knower. And that is love. And that is transformative, because when your I connects with another I, metaphorically through some transaction, a Eucharist, or you just sit on the front porch with somebody, maybe a chance meeting in Walmart. We all have these little moments where the universal I connects. And the only way that this universal I, the center that has no second, the I, the knower, you see, wakes up and is activated is through relationship, and the language of this relationship of I with I is metaphor. Because metaphor invites us to leap. Metaphor, art as metaphor, is an invitation to leap and connect your I know, with the artist. So in that connection, I am the artist when the artist is creating the work. You don't connect with the form, you connect with the knower that is the artist who created the form. That's what's living. So the artist has crystallized or captured his knower, his I, in a form, an art, and put it out there like alchemy. So that when occasionally somebody comes along and drinks from the art that the artist has put out there, his knower is still captured in the art. So when you share the art, you form a relationship through the art as medium. The art is a mediator to connect your I with the I of the artist. And that then becomes a transmutation of the objective into the subjective. And this is what the Eucharist, or the Mass, in Christianity is all about. It is a art form, the Mass, where if you participate in the right frame of mind, you and the creator of the Mass, which would be the Christ I, and the participator in the Mass become one through the mediation of the art, which is the Mass. And so this is why I said, I'm a Martini priest, and we're having a Eucharist here. You see, this this is what my uncle ordained me as the Martini priest. You see, because he said, "This is my blood. This twisted lemon is my body. Drink this and remember me." You're not remembering somebody in the past, you're remembering your own I, your own joy, your own inner true nature is what you're remembering. Okay, so anyway, I hope I'm glad you dropped in to share this with me, and I hope you see the shack. It's a trip.